How dare you?
It's just one tiny stain. I mean, a man like you doesn't really need this rug anyway, right?
The words slipped out before Layla could stop herself. They sounded wrong in the silence of the penthouse, bouncing off glass walls high above Manhattan. The cleaning bottle lay on its side beside her. A pale, ugly bloom spread across the center of a hand-knotted Persian rug that probably cost more than she'd make in 10 years. Her brown hands shook as she pressed a white towel into the spreading circle, as if she could force the damage back into the past. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city glowed. Thousands of lives, eating, laughing, cursing in the streets far below. Up here, there was only the soft hum of the air system, and the sound of Layla's heartbeat pounding in her ears. "If you run," she whispered, "you're just like them." Her throat tightened. She could walk out, leave the room exactly as it was. No camera in the penthouse, no witnesses, no one saw her come in, no one had to know, except she would. Layla closed her eyes. She had no idea the decision she was about to make would drag her past and the past of the man who owned this entire hotel out into the light, and that it would pull their lives together in a way neither of them was ready for. To understand how a 28-year-old black single mother ended up on her knees in the most expensive room of the Aurora Crown Hotel, apologizing to a man she'd never met, we have to go back to the day she walked in through the staff entrance, with a second-hand uniform in her bag and a 7-year-old boy asleep across town. The first time Layla saw the Aurora Crown, it looked like something from a life she'd never have. The hotel rose out of Midtown like a shard of glass, all mirrored surfaces and cold light. The lobby, visible only in flashes from where she stood, was marble and gold, fresh orchids on every table. It looked like the kind of place she used to wipe off the TV screen so she wouldn't smudge it. She didn't walk through that lobby. She came in through a narrow gray door in the alley, where delivery trucks coughed smoke and the garbage bins always seemed half open. Her new badge, thin plastic, her name, Layla Wright, printed slightly off-center, tapped against her chest as she moved down the service hallway. The air smelled like bleach, old coffee, and something fried that had crawled into the vents and given up. Her phone buzzed once in her pocket. A photo filled the cracked screen. Malik, her son, missing one front tooth, holding up a crayon drawing of a skyscraper with a stick figure woman in a blue uniform in front of it. Beneath the picture, the last message from her neighbor. He fell asleep on the couch. Don't worry. She exhaled slowly, then locked the screen. First day? The voice was warm, accented, and belonged to a woman in her 50s with dark hair twisted into a bun so tight it looked like it was holding the whole building together. She stood beside a cleaning cart. "Yes, ma'am," Layla said quickly. "Housekeeping. Night shift." "You don't have to ma'am me," the woman said, face softening. "I'm Maria. You stick with me tonight, okay? They said you're shadowing." Maria handed her gloves and a key card. "Rule number 1, she said as they started down the hall. You don't use the guest elevators. Ever. We have our own." She nodded toward a metal door marked Service Only. "We are ghosts here. We work. We vanish. Clear?" Layla nodded. Ghosts. That sounded familiar. "Rule number 2, Maria went on in the elevator. You don't, under any circumstance, go into the penthouse. Top floor, corner A. If they want it cleaned, they call the special crew. The owner's suite is off limits even to me, and I've been here 15 years. "The owner?" Layla echoed. "Like, the actual owner?" "Alexander Cole," Maria said. "Cole Hospitality Group. You'll hear his name a lot. You'll never see him, though." The elevator juddered upward. "And Rule 3, Maria added quietly. You don't take the blame for things that aren't yours. They'll try to make you. Don't you dare let them." Layla swallowed. She saw another office in another city, a manager's mouth thin with suspicion, her own hands swollen during her 3rd trimester, twisting in her lap. "We're missing a watch," the manager had said. "From a guest's room. You were the last one in there."
"I didn't take anything," Layla had whispered. "I'm pregnant. I can barely bend over to tie my shoes."
But they'd needed someone to blame. And a young black maid with a belly and no ring was easy. They'd never found the watch. She'd never gotten her job back. That was the night Malik's father had said, "I can't do this," and walked out, suitcase rolling down the hallway like punctuation. She had been 21. She'd promised herself then, "I will never take the blame for what I didn't do, and I will never lie about what I did." Now, in the humming service elevator of the Aurora Crown, she curled her fingers around the edge of her badge. "I got it," she told Maria. "Rules 1, 2, 3. Maria gave her a long look, like she could see all the broken promises behind Layla's eyes and all the nights Malik had slept on couches. "We'll see," Maria said, but there was a smile hiding at the corner of her mouth. Nights at the Aurora Crown blurred into a rhythm. Make the beds, tuck the corners sharp, line up the toiletries so precisely they could have been measured. Wipe the fingerprints, fluff the pillows in rooms where a single night cost more than her rent. She texted Malik on her breaks when he was still awake. "Brush your teeth, King. I love you to the moon." Sometimes he sent voice messages back, sleepy and soft. "You at the shiny hotel, Mommy?" "Yeah, baby. I'm at the shiny hotel." The staff cafeteria became her second living room. Maria became a kind of aunt. The clink of dishes and the rumble of conversation wrapped around the ache of being away from her son. And always, she felt it. That soft click of her badge as she walked past the staff staircase leading up, to the penthouse, to the place where her work stopped and someone else's began. On her smoke breaks, she'd stand at the small window at the end of the corridor and look up. The top floor usually slept in darkness, but sometimes a single square of warm light glowed in the sky. She didn't know his name then, not really, just that he was the man who owned the building that owned her hours. One stormy night, as she pushed her cart across the polished lobby threshold to wipe the brass rails before the crowd thinned, the weather turned violent. Rain slapped sideways against the glass. A black car slid to the curb, wipers thrashing. A man stepped out, baseball cap pulled low, suit already soaking. The doorman lunged with an umbrella, but the wind yanked it up and nearly inside out. Before she could think, Layla grabbed the cheap spare umbrella off her cart and jogged forward, holding it up. "Here!" she shouted over the rain. "You're gonna drown out here!" He ducked under the umbrella, close enough that she could see the water running in rivulets over his jaw, the stubble, the fine lines at the corners of his eyes. "Thank you," he said, voice low and rough with exhaustion. "No problem." She started to step back but froze. He had an earpiece in. A woman's laugh drifted from it, soft, recorded, looping the same way over and over. "Yeah," he murmured to the voice that wasn't really there. "I made it back. I know. I'm working too much." Layla's chest squeezed. She could see the phone screen. Not a call. A saved voice message. The doorman shot her a sharp look, reminding her exactly where she stood and who she was. She ducked her head, stepped back toward the service hallway, rain dripping from her sleeves. Later, with her forearm scratched red from polishing brass, Maria came to stand beside her. "You know that man you just chased with an umbrella?" Maria asked. "The one with the cap?" "That's him," Maria said. "Alexander Cole." Layla's stomach dropped. "And that suite at the top," Maria went on, "used to be his home, before he turned it into a brand experience. His wife decorated it. She picked this old Persian rug, older than you and me both." Layla waited. "She died," Maria said softly. "Car accident. After that, he left the suite like a museum. The rug, the piano, everything. No one touches it. No one goes in. Some things,"
she shrugged. You just don't touch. Layla thought of the message looping in his ear, the way he'd spoken to a ghost like she was waiting at the door. That detail lodged in her like a splinter. That night, walking past the sign that read Penthouse, authorized personnel only, she felt the letters like a wall. We are ghosts, she reminded herself. We work, we vanish. She kept walking. The night everything broke started ordinary. Layla loaded towels, restocked her cart with little bottles of shampoo and lotion, checked that her phone was charged. Malik had fallen asleep at her neighbor's again, cartoons humming softly in the background when she'd left. Midtown pulsed outside. Lightning flickered on the horizon, turning the clouds into ghosts. Halfway through her shift, the service phone on her cart buzzed. Right? A clipped voice snapped when she answered. Yes, this is Layla. I need a rush clean on a VIP suite, said Lauren Pierce, the front desk manager who wore her hair in a tight blonde twist and her authority like a weapon. Top floor, corner A. Guest requested minimal staff. You're closest. Go now. Layla stared at the ceiling. Ma'am, I thought the penthouse... Did I ask you what you thought? Lauren cut in. Or did I tell you where to go? Layla bit down on the words pressing against her teeth. Yes, ma'am. I'm on my way. And right? Lauren added. Don't screw this up. The line clicked dead. Layla stood there for a long breath, fingers tight around the phone. Maybe they'd changed policy. Maybe it wasn't the actual owner's suite. The elevator heaved upward, higher than she'd ever ridden it. Her stomach lifted with the numbers. Ding, penthouse. The doors slid open. The air was different up here. Quieter, thicker, like it had its own rules. The carpet hushed her steps. The walls held real art, not prints. A single door waited at the end of the hallway. Corner A. Her keycard flashed green. This is just a room, she whispered. Make the bed. Wipe the counters. Get out. Call Malik on your break. She pushed the door open. The penthouse wasn't just a room. The city fell away beyond the glass, a galaxy of lights under a dark sky. A white grand piano sat near the window, lid half open, a worn sheet of music resting on the stand. The air smelled like jasmine and old paper. And in the center, anchoring it all, lay the rug. It was beautiful and stubborn, deep reds and blues, patterns that moved if she stared too long. She stepped onto it without meaning to. Her sneakers sank into its softness. She imagined a woman there once, barefoot and laughing, turning circles because she could. Her radio crackled from the cart, jerking her back. Right, status? Lauren's voice snapped. Just starting, Layla said, rolling the cart in. Room is empty? Make it fast. The owner just landed. He may want it tonight. Layla's mouth went dry. She set the cleaner on the cart, hands clumsier than usual. Bathroom first. Trash. Surfaces. Get out. The bottle of heavy-duty cleaner was from the day shift. The label was half peeled. Whoever refilled it hadn't twisted the cap all the way. Layla grabbed fresh sheets, turned. The corner of the fitted sheet caught the bottle, knocked it sideways. It hit the rug with a small, final sound. Time slipped. A stream of harsh, colorless liquid poured onto the Persian rug. No, 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 no! Layla dropped the sheets and lunged, hands already reaching as if she could pull time back into the bottle. The cleaner spread in a jagged circle, soaking deep. She snatched the nearest towel and pressed down hard, knees biting into the wool. The cleaner bit back. It was meant for tile, not threads older than her son's grandparents. Color bled away as she watched, draining into a bruised, pale patch. Her breath stuttered. She pressed harder. Stop, she begged the stain. Please, just stop. It didn't. When she pulled back the towel, the damage stared at her, a ghostly circle right in the heart of the rug. Her vision blurred.
She saw her old manager again, the watch that never reappeared, the accusation that had cost her a paycheck and cost Malik his father. She saw Malik sleeping on that borrowed couch, shoes still on, the broken crayons on the coffee table, the way he'd whispered, "You're gonna keep this one, right, Mommy? This job?" Layla sank back on her heels, towel limp in her hand. She could walk away. She could put the bottle back on the cart, straighten her uniform, close the door. Lauren would blame whoever came next. Security would look at camera footage. They'd see only carts, uniforms, brown faces. Someone else would be sacrificed. No one would know it was her. Except she would. Layla pressed her palm against her eyes until stars spun in the dark. "Don't be a coward," she whispered. "Not now. Not with him watching." Him meant Malik, the boy who had drawn her a skyscraper and called it Mommy's New Castle. Her gaze landed on the notepad on the bedside table. Aurora crown embossed in gold, pen sitting beside it. Slowly, her legs numb, she stood and sat down at the edge of the bed. The pen felt heavier than it should. She started to write. "Dear." No, not dear. She tore off the page and started again. "My name is Layla Wright. I am a night shift housekeeper." Her handwriting shook. "I accidentally spilled cleaning solution on the rug in this room. I tried to fix it, but I made it worse. I don't have the money to replace it. I know this rug must be valuable. I know I should have been more careful. I am truly sorry. I will accept whatever consequences you decide." She stared at the words until they blurred, then added, "I didn't want to lie and pretend I was never here." She signed it. Layla Wright. For a moment she lifted her badge, fingers hovering. Leaving it would have been like laying herself on the altar. Proof, identity, surrender. Instead, she took a picture of the note on her phone, like she might need proof someday that she hadn't run, and clipped the badge back to her uniform. She set the note where no one could miss it. Then she walked out of the owner's suite on shaking legs and closed the door gently behind her. No one called her the next morning, or the one after. Rumors moved faster than official emails. By the end of the week, the staff cafeteria buzzed. "They say the rug in the penthouse is ruined. The old one, his wife chose it. I heard whoever did it is getting sued. I heard they're already gone." Every time someone said rug, Layla's stomach twisted. She picked at fries she couldn't taste. Malik's voice notes blinked unanswered on her phone. Maria noticed. "You're folding those sheets like they insulted your mother," Maria said one night. "What happened?" Layla held it in until she couldn't. In the quiet between radios and rolling carts, she told Maria everything. The call from Lauren, the rug, the note, the silence afterward. Maria listened without interrupting, arms crossed, lips pressed together. When Layla finished, she braced herself for anger. "You did what?" Maria asked. "I wrote a note," Layla repeated. "I told the truth. I signed my name." Maria closed her eyes like she'd been hit, then took Layla's hand. "Most people," she said softly, "would have walked away and let someone else pay. You didn't. That matters." "I'm going to lose my job," Layla whispered. "Honesty doesn't fix a rug." "No," Maria said, "but it might fix something else." Layla had no idea what that meant. 2 days later, HR called her into a small office that smelled like toner and stress. They didn't yell. They didn't ask questions. They just took her badge and said the words, "Suspension pending internal review," and "Wait for further instructions." The spot at her collarbone where the badge had hung felt weirdly bare, like someone had erased her. Word spread faster after that. Eyes followed her in the cafeteria, in the locker room. Not just curious, hungry. People needed a story to tell about why it was her and not them. "You know she did it on purpose," a server muttered behind her. "Wrote that note to get attention." Clout chasing, someone said. These girls will do anything. Especially single moms, another voice added. You know how it is. Layla walked away before she had to hear what how it is meant. She spent 2 nights in her little studio. Malik sprawled beside her on the pull-out couch, his small hand on her arm like an anchor in the dark. Are we gonna have to move again? He asked quietly. She kissed his forehead. I don't know, baby, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. When her phone finally rang, she expected HR. It was Maria. Put on your uniform, Maria said. They called everybody in, ballroom level, now. For what? You'll see. And Hiya, don't be late. Layla had only seen the ballroom in photos on the website. Glittering weddings, corporate galas, champagne. Now it was filled with people in uniforms, housekeeping, front desk, kitchen, bellhops, security. They stood in clusters beneath crystal chandeliers, voices low. The air hummed with dread. Maybe they're selling the hotel. Maybe it's layoffs. They never do this unless something bad happened. Layla stayed near a column in the back, Malik's drawing folded in her pocket. She'd told him someone needed mommy at a big meeting to keep her job. He'd nodded solemnly and handed her the picture for luck. At the front of the room, a low platform had been set up. On it stood a man in a dark suit, no baseball cap, no soaked shoulders. His hair was expensive and a little too neat. He held a folded piece of paper in one hand, a small microphone in the other. Even from the back, Layla felt the gravity around him, the way conversations faded as he lifted his head. Alexander Cole. She'd seen his face in business magazines left in the lobby. But in person, he didn't look like the ruthless titan of the headlines. He looked tired, like guilt had weight, and he'd been carrying it too long. Thank you for coming, he began. His voice carried without shouting. I know we don't usually gather like this. I won't keep you long. The crowd stilled. As many of you have heard, he said, something happened recently in the Penthouse suite. He unfolded the paper. Layla's heart climbed into her throat. A cleaning solution was spilled on an antique Persian rug, he said. A rug that's been in my family for many years. A ripple moved through the room. I'm not surprised by the rumors, he went on. When information is scarce, stories grow to fill the silence. His gaze swept the crowd. For a moment it hovered near the back, near her. This, he lifted the paper, is the only account that matters to me. He began to read. My name is Layla Wright. I am a night shift housekeeper. Heat burned up Layla's neck. The sound of her own words in his voice made her want to curl in on herself. She stared at the floor. I accidentally spilled cleaning solution on the rug in this room. I tried to fix it, but I made it worse, he continued. I will accept whatever consequences you decide. I didn't want to lie and pretend I was never here. When he finished, the room was so quiet she could hear the hum of the lights. I want to tell you a story, Alexander said, refolding the note. When I was younger, I married a woman named Hannah. She had terrible taste in movies, great taste in music, and a temper that could dismantle a boardroom. A faint wave of laughter rippled through the staff. She also had very particular taste in rugs, he added. She dragged me through half the city until she found that one, the one in the penthouse. He looked down at the paper, then up again. When she died, he said, I froze that suite in place, the rug, the piano, the photos. I told myself I was preserving her. He paused. Really, I was preserving my guilt. He let the truth hang there. I built this company trying to outrun that guilt, he said quietly. I pushed people hard. Too hard. I told myself I didn't have room for mistakes, from me or from any of you. That isn't leadership. That's fear. His eyes swept the room again. So when I saw the stain on that rug last week, I felt anger. My first instinct was to demand surveillance footage, to find someone to blame, to prove that even the ghosts of this place knew better than to touch mine. A few people shifted. Then I found this note, he said, lifting the paper, written by someone who could easily have walked away. Someone whose face the cameras would never have shown me. He took a breath. "Layla," he said, "will you come up here, please?" The room blurred for a second. Maria's hand appeared at Layla's elbow. "Go," she whispered. "You earned this part." Layla's legs moved before her brain caught up. She walked through the crowd, feeling eyes on her, curious, sharp, skeptical, hopeful. At the front, she stopped a few feet away from Alexander. Up close, he seemed taller. His suit probably cost 3 months of her rent. But his eyes, when they met hers, weren't hard. They were careful. And strangely, gentle. "This is you?" he asked quietly, so only she could hear. "Yes, sir," she said. Her voice shook, but she didn't look away. "I wrote it." He nodded once. The smallest hint of a smile creased his eyes. Into the microphone, he said, "Layla did ruin that rug." A collective inhale went around them. "But she also did something else," he continued. "She told the truth when lying would have been easier. She stepped into the light when she could have stayed invisible. She reminded me of something my wife used to say. Mistakes don't break us, Alex. Hiding them does." He turned to face the room fully. "I called you all here because I want to make one thing very clear," he said. "In this hotel, in this company, I don't want perfection. I want honesty." Something loosened in Layla's chest. Her whole life had been the opposite message. "Effective immediately," Alexander said. "Layla's suspension is over. She'll be returning to night shift housekeeping." A smattering of clapping started, small but real. He held up a hand. "That's not all," he said. "I've realized we've been wasting talent." He picked up something from the table beside him, a new badge. The plastic gleamed under the chandeliers. He turned back to her. "If you're willing," he said, voice lower, "I'd like to offer you a promotion. Assistant to the executive floor housekeeping supervisor. Training included. Higher pay, more responsibility. More chances to tell the truth when it's hard." Layla stared at the badge. Her name was printed in clean letters, a different title underneath. "For spilling bleach on your rug?" she blurted out, then winced. Laughter broke around them, startled but warm. "For telling me you did," Alexander replied, a small smile flickering. Then his expression shifted, sharpening as he looked past her into the crowd. "And for reminding me who really belongs here." He nodded at the head of security, who stepped up with a printed email. "While we're talking about responsibility," Alexander said, "one of your managers sent this message to HR. In it, she accuses Layla of intentionally damaging property to attract attention and maneuver herself into favor with leadership. She refers to her as one of those girls." A murmur rose, angry, shocked. "Lauren Pierce," Alexander said. "Would you come forward, please?" Lauren walked up, face pale and tight. Her eyes flicked to Layla, full of something sharp and ugly. "This really isn't necessary," she said, her smile strained. "I was doing my job." "Your job," Alexander cut in evenly, "is to report facts, not fantasies fueled by prejudice." He lifted the email. "What did you mean by one of those girls?" he asked. Color flared in her cheeks. "It was an emotional expression. I was upset. The rug, your history, the risk." "Yes," Alexander said. "You were upset. And you showed me exactly who you are when you're upset." He turned back to the staff. I can't ask for honesty from all of you, he said, then ignore it when the lies come from management. He looked at Lauren again. Ms. Pierce, your employment with the Aurora Crown is terminated, effective immediately. The ballroom rustled like a shaken sheet. Lauren's lips thinned. She turned and strode out, heels clacking. Layla watched her go. No satisfaction. Just the strange realization that fear made people do very different things. Some people wrote notes. Some people wrote emails. Alexander faced her once more and held out the new badge. Would you like to stay? He asked quietly, without the microphone. Layla thought of Malik, of moving again, of starting over again. She thought of the stain, and the note, and the way her hands had shaken, and written anyway. Yes, she said. I would. He clipped the badge to her uniform himself, fingers surprisingly steady. Welcome back, he murmured. For the first time since she'd started there, Layla believed the words. Far in her pocket, her phone buzzed. A voice message from Malik lit the screen. Did you keep your job, Mommy? His tiny voice asked. I drew you another building. A week later, Layla found herself at the penthouse door again. This time, she wasn't sneaking. She was on the schedule. Maria stood beside her, leaning on the cart, eyebrows raised. Never thought I'd see in there, Maria said. If they kick us out, I'm blaming you. The door opened before Layla could knock. Alexander stood there in shirt sleeves, tie loosened, no jacket. The faint lines of fatigue were still there, but his eyes were clearer. Come in, he said. The room felt different now, and not just because the rug was gone. The piano was the same. The city spread below them in the same impossible way, but the air felt less sacred, less like a shrine. In the center of the room, a new rug lay on the floor. Beautiful still, but simpler. No ghosts stitched into it yet. You really replaced it, Layla said before she could stop herself. Alexander's mouth tilted. I donated the old one, he said, to a design museum. They're putting it in an exhibit about the stories objects carry. Apparently the stain gives it character. Layla let out an unexpected laugh. It surprised them both. He walked to the window, looking out for a second, then back at her. I meant what I said, he told her. I don't need flawless people. I need people who don't hide the mess when they knock something over. I'll do my best to keep from knocking over any more priceless artifacts, she said. That would be appreciated, he answered dryly. Maria coughed into her hand. I'm going to check the supplies, she said, pushing the cart away at a suspiciously slow speed. Layla stepped onto the new rug. It felt soft, but normal. Not like holy ground. Just a floor. So, Alexander said after a moment, how is your son? Layla blinked. My son? He nodded toward her badge. A tiny sticker, a lopsided rocket ship, peeked from its edge. I heard a voice on your voicemail the other day, he said. Maria had your phone in the staff room trying to find you. A boy talking about his mom's castle job. Heat crept into Layla's cheeks. Malik, she said. He's 7. He thinks this place is a palace for rich aliens. Alexander smiled, really smiled this time, and a bit of something younger flickered across his face. My wife wanted children, he said quietly. We never got there. The silence between them wasn't awkward, just heavy with things neither could change. You must be tired, he added. Night shift and a 7-year-old, that's a lot. That's life, Layla said. He's worth it. I don't doubt it. He hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn phone, tapped the screen. A familiar laugh,
The one Layla had heard in the rain floated into the room. "Sometimes I still play this," he admitted. Her voice. "I keep thinking if I hold on to every rug, every photo, every voicemail, I won't lose any more of her."
He looked at the bare patch of wall where a picture had clearly once hung. "But the truth is I lost her anyway. What I was really doing was losing the living people around me at the same time." He glanced at her then, and Layla realized she was part of the living people now, not just background. "I've been running this hotel like it's made of glass," he said. "Turns out it's made of people. Messy, stubborn, honest people." Layla let out a breath. "Messy and stubborn I can do," she said. "Honest, I'm working on." He laughed softly. "You're doing better than most executives I know." Maria reappeared in the doorway, giving them a look that was not subtle. "Mr. Cole," she said, "they need you on line 2. Something about a VIP arrival and the color of the flowers." He sighed, then mouthed, "Save me," at Layla. She bit back another laugh. "Duty calls," he said. "Layla, there's a staff family brunch next Sunday. We're trying something new. Kids allowed on the terrace for once." "I'd like to meet Malik, properly." She blinked. "You want my son at your fancy terrace?" "It's not my terrace," he said. "It's ours. I just signed the checks." He hesitated at the doorway. "And maybe when your shift ends one night," he added, "we could have coffee. No rugs. Just 2 people who've made mistakes and are still standing." Layla's heart did that strange lift and drop thing. "I don't know if I have much to talk about with a hotel tycoon," she said, "unless you want to hear a 7-year-old's theory about aliens in room service." "I'd like to hear anything you're willing to tell me," he replied simply. It was not a grand declaration. No fireworks, just an opening. "All right," she said. "Coffee. Sometime." "Sometime soon," he said. Then, quieter. "I'm trying not to wait so long for things I actually want anymore." Their eyes met. For the first time, she didn't see the owner standing in front of her. She saw a man, a widower, tired, kind, scared, trying. Scared. And she knew he saw more than one of those girls in a uniform. He saw her. "Go," Maria scolded him affectionately. "Before they put lilies on the tables and you have a riot." Alexander shook his head, smiling, and left. Maria watched him go, then turned to Layla with her eyebrows up. "Coffee, huh?" she said. "Don't start," Layla warned, but she was smiling too. Sunday came with a shy sun and a wind that tugged at hair and napkins. For the first time, the rooftop terrace belonged to staff and their families instead of high-paying guests. Kids ran between tables. The skyline glittered beyond the glass railing. A DJ played old R&B low enough that people could still talk. Malik glued himself to Layla's side at first, fingers curled in her uniform. "This is your castle," he whispered. "It's just a building," she said. "Castles have moats." He peered over the edge. "It has a traffic moat," he decided. "All the cars." Maria wandered over with a plate piled high. "Is this the famous Malik?" she asked. "I hear you draw skyscrapers." He puffed up. "I drew this one," he said, pulling out a folded paper from his hoodie pocket. "The Aurora Crown. A little crooked. A tiny figure in blue stood in front, holding a mop like a sword." "Ah," Maria said. "He even got my hair wrong. I like him already." Layla was still laughing when a shadow fell across their table. "Is that my building?" Alexander asked. Malik turned, eyes wide. "You're the alien king?" Alexander blinked. What?" Layla closed her eyes. "I might have told him rich people are just aliens with good credit." Alexander snorted. "I've been called worse." He crouched down so he was eye level with Malik. "I'm Alexander," he said. And I don't rule anything, I promise. I just get too many emails. I'm Malik, the boy replied. My mom cleans your rooms so your aliens don't leave slime everywhere. Malik, Layla hissed, mortified. Alexander laughed, delighted. You know, that explains a lot. He looked up at Layla. There was something soft in his eyes that hadn't been there in the ballroom, something unarmored. Can I steal your mom for 5 minutes? He asked Malik. Just to get a coffee? Malik frowned like a tiny landlord. Will she still get paid? He asked. Absolutely, Alexander said solemnly. In money and muffins. Malik considered, then nodded. 5 minutes. I'll watch the aliens. Deal, Alexander said. They stepped a little aside to a high table near the glass. 2 coffees appeared as if by magic. One with too much sugar, just the way Layla liked it. She hadn't told him that. Someone had. You look more at home up here than most CEOs do, she said, wrapping her hands around the warmth. Most CEOs forget the air feels different at this height, he said. They only come up here to make speeches. And you? She asked. I came up here to hide, he admitted. For a long time. He glanced at Malik, now talking intensely to Maria about cartoon aliens and vacuum cleaners. And now? She asked. Now I'm trying something radical, he said. Being present. He took a breath. Layla, I can't promise I won't make mistakes, he said. I'm very good at them. But I can promise you this. If I do, I'll own them. I won't look for someone like you to carry them for me. And the way he said someone like you didn't make her flinch, it sounded like respect, not category. And if I spill anything else expensive, she said, I'll own that too. But I might cry first. He smiled. Fair enough. The wind lifted a strand of her hair. He reached out, hesitated, then tucked it behind her ear. The touch was gentle, giving her every chance to step back. She didn't. The city stretched around them. Not a dream, not a movie, just a place where 2 people who'd lost too much stood on the same floor for once. Somewhere deep in the hotel, cleaners would still be scrubbing, guests would still be demanding. Life wouldn't stop being hard because she'd told the truth once. But something in her had shifted. Later that night, after Malik fell asleep with his head on her lap, she sat on the edge of their pull-out couch and opened her phone. A new message thread stared back at her. Alexander C. Coffee sometime? Her thumbs hovered, then moved. Thank you for reading my note out loud, she wrote, and for seeing more than a stain. She hesitated, then added, Coffee was nice. I'd say yes to sometime again. She hit send. Outside their window, the city hummed. Somewhere in a glass tower not so far away, a man sat alone by a piano without a museum rug beneath it, listening to a saved voice message one last time before finally hitting archive. Layla looked at her hands. The same hands that had dropped the bottle. The same hands that had written the note. The same hands that packed Malik's backpack and held his when he crossed the street. Maybe she would mess up again. At work. As a mother. As a woman figuring out if her heart could open after everything it had survived. But maybe bravery wasn't about never slipping. Maybe it was about standing still long enough to say, yes, that was me. I did that. And I'm still here. And maybe I deserve more than just surviving. If you've ever lost something because you chose to tell the truth, an opportunity, a friendship, a job, maybe even a relationship, you already know a piece of what Layla felt on that rooftop, coffee cooling between her hands. If her story brushes against your own, you don't have to leave a comment on a screen. You can just whisper a quiet word for her and for yourself. As you wash your dishes, tuck your child in, or clean up a small mess no one will ever see. Because somewhere tonight,
Someone like her is choosing honesty over safety, and it's changing more than just a stain on a rug.